What up, everybody? What up, what up, what up? And I'm back again. It's Julian, the voice, right here with another Day Talk, right here on Trust the Plus, with word and life come together to make sense. And today we're going to talk about a very important verse. All the verses are important, but we're going to talk about this verse. This verse is particularly something to hone in on, right? And that's First Chronicles 29 and 11, right? So it says, "Yours, Lord, is the greatness and the power and the glory and the majesty and the splendor, for everything in heaven and earth is yours. Yours, Lord, is the kingdom. You are exalted as head over all." Listen here, right? Y'all might hear me. Some of y'all might turn around and fight me on this. Some of y'all still turn around going through your journey. But at the end of the day, everybody needs to understand one thing. This journey gets easier the sooner you turn around and be able to relinquish and submit to the fact that God is the creator. It's all about God, right? It's not about you. It's not about me. It's not about a person to your right and your left. It's about God, right? How we're all compassing to the bigger picture. And that's a lot to chew on, right? But it's worth it to understand, right? So David turns around and gives a form of praise, right? This is a prayer of praise that David does, in which he acknowledges God's greatness, power, and glory, right? And he also declares that God owns everything in heaven and earth, right? It's his kingdom, right? Which it's not false. He did it. He created it. He turned around and made it, right? In the beginning, there was nothing, right? We know how Genesis starts off, right? And for whatever reason, we make that so hard. Why is it gotta be hard? Think about all the other stuff that we listen to, all the other nonsense we try to submit ourselves to. Medicine, money, right? All these other things that, truthfully, if everybody just turned around and stopped one day and was like, "We don't care about this," right? It hold no value. But God holds value all the time. You can't stop the fact that he created your existence. You can't change the fact that you're a human, right? You can't turn around and change the fact the air exists, the trees exist. You can't unthink that, right? Pause there, something to think about there, right? You can't unthink that, because all these things is what he encompassed. All these things is what he made, right? The breath of life that he put inside, right? You can't unthink all these things. All right, these things are going to be constant. They're going to be constant, and they are constant whether you believe it or not, right? Even Revelation turns around and gives the truth to that. You know, if you ever want to open the book of Revelation, I know it's a lot. It's a hard book, and nobody likes to turn around and go in there, but it tells you the truth. And all these things operate and run whether you turn around and acknowledge it or you don't, right? But it's easier to be in the position where David is, right? Because it's important, right? God's sovereignty is important. How you want God to turn around and be in your life and hold true in your life and help you and guide you and move you through, and you don't give him the proper authority that he has over your life. Make that make sense. So David turns around and does that, right? God only asks for one specific thing, right? And it's the very thing that the devil tries to turn around and make us not do, and that's worship. That's it. God asks for a few minutes. He don't even say you got to do it the whole day, right? Because remember, the law is done. We don't live under the law, right? We live under grace. We don't even have to turn around and do it every day. It's not a bad thing if you did it every day, right? You don't have to turn around and do it every hour. It's not a bad thing if you do it every hour. You don't have to do it every minute. It's not a bad thing if you do it every minute, right? But God just asks, take a moment and just turn around, just thank him. Just appreciate him. That's all he asks. The same God who gave his only begotten son to turn around and die, right? The same God who turns around and sees you as a precious gem and created you, right? The same God who created the universe, right? The same God, all these different things that he did, grace, forgiveness, mercy, all these different things that we get for free on a daily basis that a lot of people watching this video take for granted is probably going to look at me saying this stuff and being like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, all right? And he still turns around and just asks for the simplest stuff back, and all he asks for is worship, right? Amazing. That won't hit right now for some of you, but it'll hit later on. It's okay. That's why I'm going to keep doing this, right? So I'm going to keep doing this. It's going to hit later. You know, God's creation, right? We are all encompassing that creation. Sometimes it's just magnificent to just sit here and just stare. Do you ever just kind of like watch and look out, right? Just see the sunrise. Listen to the birds chirp. Hear your heartbeat, right? All these different intricate things that we want to credit science for that can't even turn around and make heads or tails sometimes of their own theories, right? Right? God made it. And it works consistently. Without explanation, right? Because science can't even explain everything. That's how you know science can't be accredited to nothing. But it works, right? And so he acknowledges that. He acknowledges himself as God's creation, right? He acknowledges everything that God has made, right? God's power, he acknowledges that too, because I mean, the key factor is we want God to turn around and do many things in the life. So how are you going to do that if you don't believe that he has the omnipotent power to do it? Right? It's crazy. Faith goes a long way, right? Without faith, it is hard. It's what Jesus turned around and says in Matthew. All right? You got to have faith. And you got to put that faith into actions, what James talks about. All right? You got to believe it. It's not good enough to just say words. We don't just say stuff and then not show action behind it, right? Stand on business is what we like to turn around and say. Well, guess what? You got to stand on business that God has that power. Because he does. Tons and tons of testimonies. I can give you tons of testimonies on here that he has that power. All right? But you got to believe that. And so he acknowledges that power. And finally, he acknowledges God's kingdom, right? Which is not just limited to heaven, right? It is here, where you're at right now. I know the church likes to talk about a lot of things in past tense. I know we like to turn around and bring up New Jerusalem. And Jesus is coming later. You're in the kingdom right now. The kingdom is expanding right now. The kingdom is moving right now. Take the time to acknowledge your part in this bigger picture. To be part of it. Stop going against the grain. Right? What's the worst that can happen? You already tried turning around and being part of the world, and it's been frustrating you and irritating you and pissing you off. That's right, I said pissing you off. Right? And making you mad, driving you nuts. Let's try something more peaceful, something that actually will lead to a purpose, a bigger cause, a community. It's God's kingdom. That's what God wants for you in this kingdom. He wants you to perish. He wants you struggling. He wants you suffering. If you read Genesis and you see you actually read Genesis, not the typical nature of how they turn around and say and talk about God just wants to create rules. Really look at the rules in Genesis and you tell me if God was trying to create a structure where everybody was suffocated, or if he was trying to create a kingdom where everybody was actually respectful, cares about one another, understands the bigger perspective, right? Works as one. Right? I know this sounds weird because you're like, did we read the same book? Yeah, we did. You go read it again. Right? Anyway, all that to say is that when we stop going against the grain, we can see God and the access that we have through God a whole lot more. Right? So take the time to worship, take the time to praise, take the time to acknowledge it, right? It'll make life a whole lot more meaningful. You'll be surprised with how much the Spirit gives you more clarity, right, if you ask for it. God can only be as much a part of your life as you allow God to be. That's right, I said allow, because God's not going to force himself on you. He can, right? Will his will still get done even if you don't turn around and do it? Absolutely will, right? But God would rather you turn around and be on his side. That's something that should be preached more, right? Everybody just thinks that God just be sitting here waiting for any given opportunity to be your op. No, he don't. No, he don't. Give a praise, give a shout, give that worship, and acknowledge the kingdom that you are a part of. And see the inheritance that you've been given, right? See the wonderful nature of the God that you serve. The amazing might of the Lord. And that's all I got for you. I'll catch you guys next time, right? Remember, no mess, no fuss. Always trust the plus. Peace.